about the disciples walking around arguing about who was the greatest. Right? I actually love this part of the gospel in Mark, because in the beginning, they're arguing about, Jesus is telling them that he's going to die and rise again in 3 days, and they don't believe it. They don't want to hear it, right? But then Scripture says they're afraid to ask him about it, so they're silent, right? Then he's walking around, they're arguing about who's the greatest. Remember, Secretary of State, Secretary of War, all those things. Because they've got an idea of what God's kingdom is going to look like. And he asked them, what were you arguing about? Silent. Not going to say anything. Right? And then Jesus begins an object lesson about how to accept people. In other words, he says too, those who want to be first must be what? Last. And all of us must what? Be servants of one another. Let's begin to think about that. Luckily, I got to babysit the kids this weekend. Friday night, right? And I love it, you know. Kids tell you everything. I love it. Scarlett always walks in and says, your daughter did this. That's your mom. I'm backing up mommy, but she always figures Pops is good, you know, he's good for whatever, right? Your daughter did this, right? So you're talking about arguing. They were downstairs and I heard them, man, just going, right? And I went and used my big cheap petty officer voice. What's going on down there? Vivi grabbed this and did. No, I didn't. They tell you, right? That guy. Stop it. Got to be good to each other. Right? And I think the object lesson today is in how we accept kids. Right? I mean, how many of us have grandkids and kids who come running to us that are filthy? Right? I mean, their face has got chocolate all over it. You see Vivi and Scarlett, they eating donuts. Oh my gosh, they had it all over the place. You saw them, right? You saw them, didn't you? Right? They're like, hey, Pops! No! I got a white out one. But they don't care. They come. Why? Because kids expect to be loved. Amen? They know, this is one of the greatest joys of my life, is to drive up to Pottstown in front of Kat and John's house, and the door flies open, here comes two girls. Mimi and Pops! Mimi and Pops. They come joyfully. They come expectant. Why? Because they know I'm going to love them. Even with dirt on their faces. Correct? Because that's how we love kids. Amen? You know, I know some of you got grandkids. It's easier with grandkids. So you can fill them full of sugar and send them home. Give them back. You take them, right? But I think the lesson today is not only how we accept each other, but also how we come to God. Okay, first let's talk about acceptance. The church is the place where Jesus is sitting up here with his arms wide open, right? And we don't like these people. We want to clean them up before we accept them. Amen? You know what? You could be a member of St. James, but you got to wash that face. Right? And by the way, I don't like the car you drive, or I don't like, you don't smell very good. Right? Because we're not like a kid when people come in. Right? We got a standard. I never forget at St. Paul's in Quincy one time, I had my parish secretary said, well, Father Mike, they're really not our kind. And I was like, what kind is that? I thought they were human. That's my kind. Amen? Amen. Right? Because that's, Jesus has called us to love. Right? So kids come and they're filthy. When filthy people come to church, we don't like them. Right? The other thing that kids do is it doesn't matter. It's amazing to me that when they get hurt, have you ever noticed this? When they get hurt, they come running like crazy. Vivi did this the other day. I hurt my thumb. I was like, what did you do? I bit it. Well, don't do that again. But Pops is going to fix it. Right? Adults, for some reason, when they're hurting, right, the first thing they do is quit coming to church.
Amen.
I mean, it's amazing to me, right? I look out here and I haven't seen anybody for 6 months. And I pick up the phone and I call them. They say, well, this has happened and that's happened. I'm thinking, get to church! For the love of God. Why? Because you need someone to give you a hug. Amen? I mean, I said that 2 weeks ago that I think God's calling me to New York just to hug people. Right? But our little heart, we're nothing but kids in here, aren't we? And when our hearts are broken, instead we think we're big, tough adults and we can handle it. Right? Instead of going to the one place we need the most. Here, to the altar. And by the way, we are the body of Christ. Amen? If Jesus is going to give a hug to anybody in the world, we're going to give it. Amen? Because we're the... One of the most interesting things happened to me was after Barbara's funeral. We went over to the luncheon at Barbara Cott's funeral, we had been in, and I must have had 5 or 6 people who I don't know come up to me and talk to me about the service. And they said, we had never heard that before. They were talking about my sermon, because I said in my sermon that Jesus does not promise us a rose garden. Amen? Because we live for Christ doesn't mean our loved ones aren't going to die. Amen? It doesn't mean they're not going to get sick. And I don't want to talk about fair or unfair because none of it's fair. Amen? It's just a human condition. But I said that, but the promise of Jesus Christ is He's never going to leave us or forsake us. And I know that for a fact because I'm not leaving you. Right? My call here is that when I see Bill Cott, to give him a hug. Why? Because he's hurting. Because Barbara died. Right? Barbara Kimball, I said that. My call is to hug you. To let you know that you're not going to go through this alone. Amen? Kids don't go through things alone. They let you know. Right? Correct? They do, man. They tell you everything. Sometimes I'm like, oh, don't talk about that in restaurants. But they're open. Their hearts are open. Why? Because they come to God trusting. And our call is to be the body and blood of Christ and to welcome people as Christ welcomed the children. To put our arms out and say, it's going to be okay. Amen? It's going to be okay. It's not going to be the same. It's going to be a new normal. Amen? But I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be with you when your heart is broken. And thanks be to God, which keeps me sane. I'm also with you when we baptize babies. And we have the joy of that. Amen? Or when we get the chance to marry people up here blogging. That's why I always funny when I see Owen. Because he always has a smile on his face. It must have done something right. God is calling us to let go of all those things that we think are the right way. That's what the disciples needed to do. They needed to get rid of all the things in the world that they thought was the way they wanted them to be. That's what Jesus is telling them. Let it go. You want to be first? You want to be this? Be last. Pat, I told the people at 8 o'clock about you because of Sean. I never forget when I first got here, my first Monday, Thursday, I had 4 people come up for foot washing. Right? Well, Sean was one of them. And Sean walked back there and he grabbed Pat and he said, come on, Dad, we're going up. Didn't he? Because little children get it. He didn't little anymore. Not little anymore. Right? Because he understood that there was something powerful about humbling ourselves. Amen? There's something powerful about allowing ourselves to be loved. To be loved. I just think about that all the time. I think we had 4 people, and I think last year we had something like 60-something come up and get their foot washed. Why? Because we get it. That's that object lesson that Jesus was doing today. You want to be in my kingdom? You want to do what I'm asking you to do? You want to be Christ-like in the world? Serve others. Amen? Serve others. Be open. And I think the other lesson is, let's come to God like children. Expectant. Joyful. Right? Knowing that God loves us. If you've got burdens on your heart, you're normal. Amen? If your life right now is not hunky-dory, not perfect, you're normal. Amen? Nobody's life is perfect. Well, maybe Adele, but the rest of us not. I'm always teasing Adele every time I see her because I said, 93 years, man, you must be doing something right. All right? But all of us have trials in our lives. All of us have times when things are good and when things are bad. But let us be Christ-like to our brothers and sisters. Let us not be judgmental. And if you're sitting here today with a heavy heart, with something that's on your heart that needs to be taken care of, why don't you come running like a kid? Right here to the arms of grace. Right here to the open arms of Jesus Christ who wants to hug you. And if you need another abject lesson, grab me